how would you, I guess, define a visionary? Is there a common thread that runs through us all, or can anybody just say, hey, you know what, visionary sounds like fun, I'm going to go do that?
To me, to answer your question, it is that willing to take risks, somehow believe that we could do something that maybe wasn't done before, wanting to help. We're problem solvers. But I think the main thing about the visionary, the person, it is that we are tapped into more of the magic of the universe. And again, stuff comes to me and they're like, where did that come from? Sometimes it just comes through me. Sometimes it's just, I heard what you said and what you said and you said, and here was the common thread. So it may not be all magical and spiritual, but I do think part of it is.
Welcome to Constructive Interference, where visionaries sharpen visionaries. I'm your host, Rufus Cressend. Diving into the minds of those who dare to dream big and innovate boldly. Join me as we explore their stories, uncover their challenges, and learn from their journeys. Let's get inspired and sharpen our visions together. Today we have Bob Shenefelt with iMatter, but also with the Visionary Forum. And I am so happy to have Bob as a guest. Bob is Coach Bob is a friend, a fellow visionary, fellow flaming visionary, by the way, for those of you who know, but also a very important mentor for me as well. So, Bob, before we really get into about you, and I want to talk a lot more about you as a visionary, and the whole idea with constructive interference is. This was really spawned in your presence, by the way. So it was kind of a play on when we were talking about how visionaries sharpen visionaries, just like iron sharpens iron, that Right. It takes another visionary to see you, to hear you, to pull out the genius that is within all of these entrepreneurs and visionaries that the rest of the world doesn't always get us. So to be able to be in our elements and to be true unleashed visionaries, it often takes another person to really pull that out. So that's fun for me. I can do that every day, all day, never be exhausted. And especially when the topic is around business and being a visionary and an entrepreneur around business. So we're going to dive a lot more into that. And of course, the constructive interference side of things, the logic being is that when two vibrations are in sync, it amplifies that vibration. So That's what we're doing here. So we're going to actually talk about a lot more of that. But before we do, I wanted to do a little bit more. Now, I know you very well, but the audience doesn't necessarily know you well. So I'm going to do some rapid fire stuff that's going to be hopefully fun. If you want to pass on any of these questions, that's perfectly fine. But as far as I'm just going to hit you with it. Don't think too much. Just give it to me. So we'll start with something easy. Are you a night owl or are you an early riser?
Definitely early riser.
Now, I already know that about you. Actually, I can even give you another one. Do you prefer a beach vacation or a mountain vacation?
I love them both, and we've wrestled with this, but it's mountain.
There you go. And like I said, I knew that about you, though. We have a very similar taste in movies, but what's that guilty pleasure movie that you when it's on, you have to just, oh, great, it's on now. I got to go watch the rest of this damn show.
Two come to mind, Love Actually and Family Man. Just a great conversation, great dialogue, great acting, great message. It's funny. It represents the human condition in many ways.
That's so funny that you said Love Actually, because that is my go-to guilty pleasure. So that's funny.
We should hang out, Rufus.
I know, gosh, it's like we like each other or something. Well, we've already had conversations about Fletch. So anybody that knows me knows that I speak pretty fluent movie. So to kind of have a fellow person that likes Fletch and we can kind of go back with movie quotes. Fletch, and remember the movie from the 80s, the Val Kilmer, The Real Genius movie?
Oh, for sure.
Great one-liners came out of that one. So another time, another day.
Lines came up that I thought I wouldn't repeat. Yeah, but
you can say whatever you want. Actually, I'll even go there. Yeah. What is this? Ken, this is ice. This is what happens to water when it gets too cold. This is Ken. This is what happens to someone who gets too sexually frustrated. So
I was hot and I was hungry. It is God.
So what is your favorite childhood cartoon character?
Bugs Bunny, hands down.
Why Bugs Bunny?
So it's interesting, like when I take people through many exercises, as you know, and one of them is favorite characters, and it could be living or fictional, and with bugs, and then it's what's the why behind it? Partially it's because I watched it with my dad, but
Mm-hmm.
mainly because his wit, that he would jab people. I mean, it was intelligent, funny, quick. He was cool. He would always win, and he was he wasn't very humble about it, but just he knew he won. It was fun.
He knew he was pushing buttons, and he knew just the subtle enough buttons that I can appreciate that. And I guess I can kind of relate to that wit as well. So absolutely. Well,
And if we were
awesome,
doing
Bob.
this at my office, I've got a Bugs Bunny picture just above my credenza there. Yeah.
Gotcha. So what's going on in your world? What's keeping you up at night? What's big?
I used to. I was worried about the world, and especially for my kids and grandkids, just the way the divisiveness of what was happening. And then, as you know, I host mountain retreats where we dive deep down spiritually, and I've helped hundreds of people, especially visionaries. And I'm usually the guide, but often I get as much out of it as someone else. And so one of our healers, mentors that we work with looked at me and just said, what is your rush? What is your urgency? And I'm like, this is like 5 years ago. I was like, I have to save the world. She's like, okay, it's a little too big. First of all, the world's going to be fine. Second of all, you can't do it by yourself. And third, you're going to die doing it. And so that was a big relief. And so now it's leaving my legacy, and that's still probably too much of a urgent thing as opposed to letting it happen. And as you know as well, I mean, my daughter gets married in 2 days. Then 2 weeks later, we drop my son off at college. And so I have a blank canvas in a lot of ways, which is
Mm-hmm.
awesome because I get to be with my wife and we want to be together. I get to do the things I love and I'm great at, which is coaching and healing and helping. And so, and also I'm moving into more of a sage mentality as opposed to a warrior mentality. So it's
Okay.
still keeping me up trying to figure it out. Like, how can I help more people? How can I make a business out of it? Because I'm still trying
Mm-hmm.
to figure that out, as you know. I mean, we're having great impact on people, but what is that strategy and the cash flow and whatnot? So it's trying to figure it out. And yet I also teach people to get out of our minds and unscattering that chatter and just being. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's a shift I'm going through. And again, I'm client number one with my own tools and with my own teaching. So it's just trying to figure too much stuff out in my brain, and that's not the answer. So I don't know if that answered your question.
Well, you mentioned your legacy, and you also mentioned Unscatter the Chatter, which is the name of your book. So anybody that hasn't read Bob's book, you should look at picking it up, and it is actually on Audible. I know a lot of visionaries are Audible listeners,
Right.
but that is part of the legacy that with that book. I mean, that's first of all, it's your origin stories. It's kind of led your story where you are today, but also just your outlooks. And that's just something that in 50 years from now, the stuff that you and I are worrying about will not matter. But
Right.
your great grandchildren will be able to pick up that book and know what their great grandfather's values were,
Right.
how they viewed, and you can share that with them. And I think that just lives on. And I think that's probably the most important thing you could have ever done with your legacy in passing on those values. I think that's fantastic. I want to speak about that for a second, because one of the things that resonates me when I read your book was climbing that ladder of success and reaching the top only to realize that you were on the wrong wall. Did I get that right? Did I get
Oh
the
yeah. Right.
metaphor? Okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's what I've kind of learned so much in our discussions and being a part of the Visionary Forum, being part of Visionary Summits, is kind of really focusing in who I really am, what it is that I really want, versus and shedding all the layers of all these ideals that I kind of set for myself, and trying to find my authentic me. And only then can I start to have the clarity of what it is that I want to do. And I think, again, it took a visionary to take that out. So anyway, so if anybody has a chance to get Unscatter the Chatter, I highly recommend it. Bob, tell us a little bit more about I Matter and the Visionary Forum and the Visionary Summit, and kind of how that relates to the visionary and how it all ties together.
Right. So I Matter is about, I mean, my purpose in life is to help people to know and act like they matter. And so too often I'm doing things for other people. I like to help. I want to support. And then a lot of times in the past, I would do things that I didn't really want to do. And I thought that was being unselfish. And so what I realized, kind of like the oxygen mask on a plane, it's like, okay, well, I can help two or three people, but if I am, and then I run out of oxygen, if I take oxygen and I can help three or four people and then have more oxygen and help five people, that could be considered selfish. And yet, as I am taking care of myself, mind, body, and spirit, I have more energy to physically help people, but also even emotionally and spiritually. So as my energy level and conscious level is higher, then I can deal with technical difficulties. I can deal with things that don't go the way I thought they would, and I can help more people. And so I love, and it's everybody matters. It's not just a certain race or ethnicity or whatever it might be. We all do. And that doesn't mean it's everybody gets a trophy. It means that each of us really have the right and liberty to, speak my own mind, have my own values, have my own thoughts, and yet not judge others. And so it's not saying I matter and you don't. It's I matter and you do too. And so, as Gino Wickman created EOS for businesses, the entrepreneur operating system, and I was not a big part of it. I was a part of with him, just at witnessing it and helping it and selling it. And so Gino and I were together a lot years ago in EO and through Coach together and through Landmark Forum together, and we're good friends. I was like, all right, well, what he's creating for business, why can't I have that for my life? So I Matter is a life operating system. So it's helping me and others to, again, know and act like I matter, but it's all about what matters most to me now. Realizing what matters most, clarifying who I am, and following my North Star. So those are the three biggest components, or what we call lifetime expanders. And so what matters most changes. And so what mattered most to me when I was 20 is different than when I'm 60. The last 25 years has been raising my kids. And so now it's kind of like, okay, we're done with that. I don't think as humans we can do everything. So staying focused on what matters most, and then realizing who I am, which is, I didn't really know this until not that long ago, that I'm a teacher, I'm a student, I'm an inspirer, I'm becoming a sage, and then just being in the moment. So it's not even just that I'm a husband and a father, it's being present. And so it's realizing clarifying who I am, and then following my North Star is my purpose. So my why. So similar to what Gino did with EOS, what is your why? What is your what? What is your how? What's your target market? I Matter is a life operating system that helps me and others to help figure out our why, what, and how, and to put its principles, practices, and tools to help me start my day. And at the end of the day, say, wow, I had a great day. Not only was it fun and hopefully productive, but it was moving toward my North Star, toward my purpose. And a lot of it was around, I forget the gentleman's name who did the last lecture. And he was he had 3 months to live. And he was, I think, at Carnegie Tech or Carnegie Mellon. And he was in his lecture hall. And he basically did a 1-hour video with all these people showing up for his kids. And here are the lessons that he wanted to leave for his kids. And it caught fire. Oprah picked it up. It sold 20 million copies, whatever it might be. And then and then my dad passed away recently after that. And I spoke at his funeral and I gave my top 10 lessons I got from my dad. And I almost didn't realize what he had taught me. And I came to me, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to wait till I'm about to die or dead before my parent or my kids say, here's what my dad taught me. So I said, how about if I create something that I'm learning and teaching them? So that's where I Matter kind of came from. And then I as a middle schooler, I was called the shrink. So I like to listen. I'm good at mirroring. Kind of things come through me. I'm kind of a visionary for other people. Just I don't see the future, but I see possibilities and whatnot. So this Cheryl and I wrote this. My wife and I wrote this for me because as a visionary without structure, I'm all over the place. Right. Too much structure and I'm bored. So it's that balance. So it's so I Matter is a lot about helping people to know and act like they matter. And then ultimately how we're helping more people is creating communities. So the first community is visionaries. So why not start with the community that I wanted to be a part of? And there really wasn't one like that. And so to create that, and then again, it's not me just teaching others. As you said, it's visionaries sharpening visionaries or unleashing visionaries. And so with this community, it's not me saying, here's all the life lessons. It's here's some structure and things that I've learned. And then Without Judgment, and I love Dialogue is the Art of Learning Together. Dr. Bill Isaacs wrote a book on that, and I got to study with him a little bit years ago. So you have your experiences and your thoughts and your beliefs, and I have mine. If we communicate without judgment and it's in a safe space, I can hear myself think and hear what you think and go, wow, I never really thought about that way. We may not convince each other, but it's a chance to experience who we are and what we believe. And that's a huge key for me to understand myself. I don't want to be exactly like you, and you don't want to be exactly like me. But as I learn about you, I'm like, wow, that's cool. So it's inspiring, it's community, it's connection. So those are those two things.
So I reflect even on the first summit that I went to, and it was, I felt that I kind of was disappointed at first because of what I was expecting.
I thought you were going to leave.
So from a standpoint of, I was new to EOS, and I'm new to this concept of, okay, I'm a visionary. And according to the visionary, okay, get out of the way, let business run the business, and you go be the creative force of that business. But I'm like, but what's my job if I'm letting go of everything? You know, I'm starting to lose my identity of kind of what I've built this company around me to be. So I'm like, well, let me go learn from other visionaries, and they're going to give me all these tactical tools of how to be a great visionary. And they're going to almost rewrite almost my job description, if you will. Right. And then I'm in these meetings, and we're like, you're doing, and I call it the hard work. The hard work is, maybe some people call it kind of woo-woo stuff, but it's like you're talking about yourself and improving yourself. I'm like, well, no, I didn't come here to face that reality. That's scary stuff here. Right. I want to give me some skills. Give me a flow chart. You know, give me something I can bring back tactically that I can go be a better CEO, go be a better entrepreneur, go grow my business, make a lot of money. And I started to realize, I'm like, Rufus, you're doing the work. By day 2, it's like, I'm kind of frustrated because I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this other stuff, and I'm kind of, again, I'm kind of uncomfortable because I'm doing this reflective work on myself. But then I'm realizing that I can't get to that next level until I start tearing down all these layers that I've kind of built, these identities that aren't really me. Because I'm trying to be like other CEOs. I'm reading books of other CEOs. I'm trying to be like Jack Welch. I'm trying to be like Jim Collins. I'm trying to, all these different, gurus out there. I'm like, I need to be a better boss, more like that. No, I need to be a better version of me. So I need to get there first. So that's the work. Now, as a result, I started becoming more of my authentic self. Right. And what I'm noticing is, boy, it's easier to be me than to be someone else. Right. And you don't realize how much baggage you're carrying with you day in, day out, trying to be this ideal that you've created for yourself, to start letting go of those things, to be around other visionaries that say, Rufus, we see you with all your flaws and all your errors and all of the mistakes, because maybe we didn't make the same ones, but we made some ones that are really similar and we can relate. And you're okay to be vulnerable here. And vulnerable is not my natural state, which I've told you time and time again. So it takes me a little while to get there. But once I can be around people that I'm comfortable with, then I can start to look inward and say, okay, I can now discover more of who I am. And that is going to make me a better boss, a better CEO, a better business owner. But also it translates into being a better husband and a better father and a better friend. And that's like, when I come back from these summits, I'm just a nicer person in general. I'm talking to strangers on an airplane. Normally my MO is, I get into my seat, I put my noise canceling headphones. I don't want to engage with anyone because I don't like small talk. I like authentic conversations. Well, I'm just coming back from 3 days straight of authentic conversation. I need more of that. So I'm having real conversations with people on the plane, probably annoying the crap out of them. But anyway, I'm coming back, and my wife even likes me more because I'm just more, I guess, present. Anyway, so that's been my experience. And I don't know if everybody that joins the forum or joins the summit is going to have that experience, but I can tell you that was really my experience. But it's like, I had to shed certain layers before I can find out who Rufus really was and where those geniuses lied. And it was that first summit really was uncovering the unknown. If you remember that was really,
yes, I do.
Young talked to us, and that was so powerful of understanding that your untapped genius is the things that you don't know about yourself and other people don't know about you. Well, how are you supposed to know those things if you don't know that about yourself and other people don't know about you? So we're all scratching our heads and like, it's going to take another visionary to bring it out of you.
Right.
Isn't
Well,
that
and you
cool?
kind of answered the question you asked me, is that you are learning how, as we are too, to know and act like you matter, and that you
Mm-hmm.
matter just being you and just being present. And the next evolution of the universe is humans connecting. And what I'm realizing when we connect most often is through struggles. And it's not, it doesn't have to be bankruptcy or divorce, or it could just be a struggle. It's like, why did I make that decision? Or why did I wear this shirt today? Or why did I pick this computer? And that's the human condition. And so when we come together with peers and we are willing to be vulnerable and we still love each other, what we often do is stuff down, as humans, is stuff down these emotions. And I think with visionaries even more, because I need to be the rah-rah guy. I need to rally the troops. And at the end of the day, I can only do so much. And so even in my family, we grew up at shoving down the lower vibrational emotions and consciousness of depression, shame, sadness, guilt, pride, and then get to courage. And so what's interesting is to be able to experience those. And as David Hawkins says in Letting Go, one of my 3 favorite books, it's to acknowledge the emotion, to accept it, and then we automatically transform to a higher vibration. And so that's part of the magic about the Visionary Forum. Is this is the greatest time ever to be alive, in my opinion. I call it the wisdom age. We're busting through the ceiling of complexity. And when we do that, there is fear and anger, and there's certain people trying to keep the old bureaucracies the same way and dividing us. And yet it's our opportunity now for visionaries to say, you know what? Here's an example of being a visionary. I'm going to be vulnerable. Maybe Rufus is not going to like me, or he's going to laugh at me, or he's not going to join the forum or whatever. But to say, you know what? That's okay. I'm going to be me. I'm going to try stuff and fail, and it isn't even failing. It's experiencing. And so for us visionaries to come together and share our successes and our dreams without judgment and our struggles. And it's like, wow, Rufus still likes me. That's kind of cool. And then when I go back home and I'm with my wife and I'm like, wow, I kind of, I'm going to start being me. And my wife is like, that's all I want. I don't like that other guy. It's, you're trying to be like a Gino or like a Rufus or whatever. I want you. And so, and that's our opportunity to do that for our employees, our kids. And so I'm very confident we are on a great journey with the Visionary Forum, with visionaries, with our kids to say, you know what? We're busting through this ceiling of complexity. In Michigan, we got shut down hard a few years ago, and it really, I did go through depression, and so did my kids, and it was horrible. And so, as Jim Collins says, the enemy of great is good, and we had it good, then it sucked, and so now that we're back, I'm not going for good, I'm going for great. And that is where we are as humans coming together and supporting. And it's not all just shits and giggles and peace and love. We're coming together in, how can I help you? And as I hear you say, wow, I'm dealing with this, it's like, I'm on the phone, and vice versa. And people are like, what can I do to help? And it's like, what is this? And then even people, both at the mountain retreat and then at the summit, people are like, I don't know what's going on. What is this? And it's like, it's called love. And that's not what we're marketing, because that you wouldn't have come, I think, if I
I
would
wouldn't
have
have come.
said, come
No,
and
I
learn
would have
how
like,
to
no,
love.
go sell your crazy somewhere else, man.
Right, so, exactly. So it's just such a
we're
cool
all stocked up
opportunity.
here.
And it's just amazing what's happening. And I know, we're in many different groups together within the Visionary Forum, and to hear someone struggle and then people jump on, it's like, here's a phone call, here's what I've done, I love you, what can I do to help? And then people come out of that and it's like, oh my gosh, you saw my warts and you still were with me. And
You
it's,
didn't run away. I
a
didn't
few of the
scare you
stories I'm
away.
talking about, and it's like, yes, we can do this. And so then, as it's not all me, it's not all you, it's many of us raising our consciousness level, being ourselves more. And that higher level is peace and love and support and not judging. And then, so what if we actually lead by example for our kids, where it's like, it's a whole nother world. So it's a cool thing.
Well, again, my struggle was the ideals that I've created for myself, and whether it be the image, my early experiences with my grandfather being an entrepreneur, my father being an entrepreneur, and having these ideals, these idols of this is who I'm supposed to be. So that was my journey. I don't think everybody's having the same journey that I'm having, and that's okay. That's what I got out of the Visionary Forum. This is what I continue to get out of the Visionary Forum. But the other thing that I think my experience has been is I reflect on this, and the gratitude of it is because it takes someone that is like you to see you, truly see you. My wife can hear me, but does she
be a
really
mirror?
listen?
Yep.
Right. And so someone that's, my employees, they support me, they believe me, they follow me, but do they truly understand the big picture, the vision? So when I have these inspirational big ideas, these shiny objects, I have a network of other visionaries that I can say, hey, I can get on the phone with them at any time and say, hey, I want to run something by you. I remember I'm even on one of my walks listening to one of my audiobooks, and I'm like, just something random pops in my head. I'm like, I got to call Bob. Right. So it's just one of those things that it's like, but we have that. And I think that the visionary is so isolated for the most part. They isolate themselves, but they don't recognize that there are other people that are just like them on so many levels. Now, that's been my experience. What other experiences have you found that you, in working with visionaries through the forum, that you've seen any breakthroughs, or what value are they receiving?
Well, it's experience share, it's connections, and as we say in the Visionary Forum, we don't network to each other, we network for each other. And so
Mhm.
you may not even, and I may not have a solution to your opportunity or your issue, but I probably know someone who did. So it's expediting the synchronicity. It's, I think too often you ask what keeps me up at night is I'm trying to figure stuff out. That's not my role as a visionary, and even in my business, but in life, my role is to be
Mhm.
present, to be listening to you, to not be looking at my phone. And that's my real value. And that's where the magic and the inspiration happens. And it's just like, I'm going to call Rufus. Almost everyone that I call is like, hey, I was just thinking of you. And I'm like, well, that's why I called. And so it's
Mhm.
tapping into that sixth sense and that different dimension. And so it is ultimately, EOS without EOS, we'd be flapping in the wind with all of our ideas. And so with something like EOS, there's structure. But as you mentioned earlier, a lot of times we get shoved aside or we're supposed to let go of the vine. And then we're like, what do we do now? And as we talk
Right.
about in I Matter in the Visionary Forum, it's life beyond the vine. So vine
Mhm.
is control. And it doesn't make sense that wait a minute, if I'm too busy to go meditate. I'm too busy to go on this retreat. And yet that's when we need it the most. That's when the biggest opportunity is. So it's a combination of structure and creativity, process and magic and intuition. And so it's an and on both things. And so, as you know, our rally cry is Viva la Visionary, and it's to celebrate and elevate. And so it's not that we're better than anyone else. We're just different. And it's not just, I don't want to just teach and help visionaries. I want to help teach people to have vision. It's okay. I mean, when I asked my son, I'm like, what do you want to do next? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, well, if you did know, what would it be? Well, I want to play D1 baseball and go somewhere warm. I'm like, okay. Then Princeton comes calling and he's like, well, it's not, I want to go somewhere warm and fun and play D1 baseball. And Princeton's not maybe warm or fun, but he's like, wait, what matters most is to make a difference in the world and playing baseball. D1 is huge. He loves to learn. He's brilliant. He doesn't love to study, but he's very disciplined. But it's helping him to realize what matters most right now. Then he's like, well, if I go to Princeton, play baseball, I can probably live somewhere warm and fun for the rest of my life.
Right.
It's so it's not just for visionaries, but it's a peer group. And as you know, our model is the enlightened visionary journey. And so
Mhm.
it's a business structure, a personal structure. It's peer groups where you dive in and learn. And you don't just jump in, learn something, and leave. It's a commitment. It's a community. It's doing the work. It's going on retreats and
Right.
workshops. It's to be not the smartest one in the room and listen from other people. So being coached and mentored to become a thought leader. How do I want to be remembered? And this
Right.
is one of the ways that I want to be remembered. But it's
Mhm.
like I'm living my legacy now, which is awesome. And then to become a coach or mentor and to live life beyond the vine. And so it's interesting. My two biggest heroes and mentors in my life are my kids because they are already
Mm.
doing this and being this, which is just amazing.
Yeah. So I want to make sure that the audience knows that it's not a bunch of woo-woo stuff. We're just talking about the hard work. And this is mostly untapped in Summit. You don't get to these levels. You need time. Time is
Right.
the currency when it comes to the experience that you're going to have in a visionary summit. It's not necessarily the speakers, it's the time that you spend with other people that are there after or during breaks or at dinner or having drinks and so on. So that's really where the value is, I think, in the experience is. But there are the tactical things. Like, I'll even tell you, the visionary forum yesterday was fantastic, by the way. Carrie
Right.
was wonderful. I'm jotting down notes. I probably forwarded the link on, the topic was on intellectual property. Okay, that's something. First of all, it was a blind spot. It wasn't something that I even knew that was a
Right.
risk to my company. So again, it took another visionary to share an experience and a business that they've created and a solution around something that I didn't even know was a risk to my business. And that's the type. And then we get to have those one-on-one or those group discussions as we break out into these forums to talk about how are these things affecting your business or where does this apply. So even the things that you haven't thought of,
Right.
someone else has thought of, you're like, oh shit, I need to think about that too. And
Right.
so I think there's tremendous value that people find in the forums, and there are very tactical things that you provide. I mean, I remember the first time I met you was actually at an EOS conference when you were speaking about how to be a great 10 things to be a great effing visionary. Is that right?
Yeah,
Okay.
6 habits to become a great
6
fucking
habits. There
visionary.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
That's one of my
but
favorite words. I didn't say that earlier, but yeah.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I was like, I'm surprised. Like, come on, dude, you can say fuck. It's cool. So, I'm well aware what your favorite word is. I was setting you up, see how honest you're going to be. But yeah, but even that was the first time where it really resonated to hire an assistant.
Right.
And I think that was a big thing for me is like, if I want to be, because I went to that session specifically as like, okay, I need to be a better CEO. How do I become a better CEO, better entrepreneur, better visionary? And some of these habits, I'm like, okay, I'm not doing any of these 6 things, or I could be doing these 6 things better. So that really resonated. So sometimes it is the fundamentals, it is the sharpening of the saw that has to happen. And so you do get a lot of that from the visionary forum, I believe, as well.
Right.
So anyway, so
And
like I said, it's
I
not
just want
all
to add one
woo-woo
more
stuff.
thing, Rufus, as I was
Yeah,
thinking
yeah,
when you
go ahead.
said what's another example of kind of what comes out of forum and whatnot. It's when we were at the summit a couple of years ago, and people were like, this is amazing. We need to grow this. And I was very vulnerable. I said, I can only do so much, both
Mhm.
time and money. And you and 6 or 7 other people raise your hand and say, how can I help? And that is
Mhm.
just so amazing that, what are you going to get out of it? I mean, yeah, you're going to get out of it that forum's going to be around longer. We're going to bring in more members, but you got to be a part of a community. And so for
Mhm.
you and the other 5 people who've been on our vision board, that has been magical. And it's like, why are you guys doing this? And then I reflected with EO Detroit. I was one of the original members. I then became on the board, volunteer, helped to grow it. And it was some of the greatest experiences I've ever been a part of it. So it is that community, that peer group. And as we talk about, belongs, transform and serve. So belong, get engaged, transform yourself, and then serve and give back, which is time and recruiting and whatnot. So that's been another thing, is to be a part of something. Like you said earlier, a lot of times I feel alone. In school, I felt alone because I didn't like school. My parents kind of made fun of me. Oh, there goes Bob. He's always dreaming about something. And that's a lot of the narrative that was in my head. And so to be a part of a community, it's amazing. So thank you for helping me to
Mhm.
see that and believe that I'm not alone and know I'm not alone.
How would you, I guess, define a visionary? Is there a common
Oh,
thread that runs through us all, or can anybody just say, "Hey, you know what? Visionary sounds like fun. I'm going to go do that."
it's interesting because one of my partners that I brought on board years ago, I didn't really know the term integrator at the time, but it was more operations and structure
Mhm.
and whatnot. And when he came on board, he fought me for the visionary seat, whether it was real or not. And I
Mhm.
mean, literally, it was weird. And so, because he's like, well, you got the fun job. I said, well, yeah, you're right. And then all of a
Right.
sudden, he was like, you know what? We're here because of you. And I'm like, well, what does that mean? He's like, it's your energy, your passion. You see a vision and you have the courage to go for it. I mean, almost at all costs, I'll go for my vision, which has been costly in some ways in the past. but it's been, so to me, to answer your question, it is that willing to take risks, somehow believe that we could do something that maybe wasn't done before, wanting to help. We're problem solvers. And that not all of us aren't good managers, but most of us aren't, and good at the tactical. I can't read instructions, as you found out. I don't know how to turn up the volume on my computer, and I'm proud of that. I didn't use a computer for 5 years. And so it's like, but I just want to be present with people. So it's, I don't know what percentage of people are visionaries. And then it's not just like visionaries in business, it's visionaries in life. So my daughter is an engineer mind, and I would not call her a visionary, but she has vision. And that's what I'm trying to pull out of people, so it's, if that makes sense, and my son is amazing at having a conversation and not debating to win, but debating to learn and getting to the root of things. I'm like, that is amazing. So I don't know if it's just visionaries and non-visionaries. I think that everyone, and I think you and I and other visionaries can pull that out of people, our employees. It's like, not, Bob, tell us what to do. What's the vision? It's like, no, I want to empower you. What do you think it could be? And the confidence and the structure. And if they know that their job is, they're the ones who are better at actually figuring out the how and the what. So it's, but I think the main thing about the visionary, the person, it is that we are tapped into more of the magic of the universe. And again, stuff comes to me and they're like, where did that come from? Sometimes it just comes through me. Sometimes it's just, I heard what you said and what you said and you said, and here was the common thread. So it may not be all magical and spiritual, but I do think part of it is.
Right. Well, we even had Doug Brackman at one of the summits, and he was able to put a little bit of the science behind it in terms of what makes the driven. And we kind of use those terms interchangeably: visionary, entrepreneur, driven. And they all have these common threads, and that's where he goes into the dopamine 2, dopamine 4, D2, D4 gene, and that we have low hits of dopamine, and we're always chasing something bigger, which is causing us to think bigger and craving those things and having that addictive nature to us. So there is some science there. And of course, his book Driven is fantastic. And it was really an honor to be in his presence and have him present to us at one of the summits. So that was great too. Now, speaking of books, you had mentioned Letting Go by David Hawkins. And I know you said you have 3, and Untethered Soul was another one of those, right?
Michael Singer, that's my second one.
And what's the third? That's kind of
so
that's cheating.
It's not even self-promotion. It's what's worked for me, because letting go was a concept and a philosophy and a belief, and it took me 4 times to listen to it and read it. And I used to listen to it with Gino, or we have a book club, and then my wife and I listened to it several times. And after the 4th time, I'm like, oh, if I acknowledge and accept, I transform to a higher level. That's kind of cool. And then we got locked down. We practiced it. That was one of the first times that I'm like, I'm scared and I'm sad and I'm mad. And Cheryl just was like, yeah, I get it. She didn't try to solve it. And then we got to courage, and then we got to more of the positive emotions. And Untethered Soul, one of the main things I got out of that is to be. So again, you and I are talking. I have emotions. They're real, but I am not my emotion. And it's okay to have emotions, but to be separate, to be the observer and step back and say, yeah, I'm angry, but that's my emotion. I am not anger. And so, and I love one of the lines he uses, we're hurtling through space on this big ball at 10 million miles an hour, and I'm worried about the stain in my pants. We get so upset about these things, and it's just life. And, things don't all happen the way we think they should, and that's okay. And so to experience life with wonder and curiosity. One of my mentors asked me years ago, what's the definition of the word wonderful? And I said, well, it's awesome. I had a wonderful day. It was awesome. He's like, consider the possibility that it's full of wonder. I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So to go into each day, not, I'm going to get Rufus to go to the mountain, and I'm going to have, my wife's going to, take me out to dinner. I wonder what's going to happen today. What's going to happen on this call with Rufus today, and with curiosity. And so to be the observer, and then I was still kind of looking for more tactical things. And that's where, again, my wife is the genius behind this. And so there are principles, practices, and tools and rituals that I put in my life, like the 3-3-1 and the Take 5 and the Flip It exercise. And that's changed my life. And so to be able to share that with people, and it's not the only solution, but it's what's worked for me.
So you mentioned mentor. Do you have, how many mentors do you have?
Do I have now?
Yeah.
That's a great
Or do
question.
you have any
And
mentors at
Gino's
all?
one of my mentors. He's
Mm-hmm.
so focused and driven, and he is so honest. It's like, Bob, here's and what he's gone for it. He had a vision and went for it. And he's a dear friend. We are very opposite in many ways. My wife is a mentor that she has the courage to be a mirror for me. And it's not to be mean. It's to say, I want you to be great. And when you act this way or you aren't being yourself, you're not great. And I don't like constructive criticism, but I'm learning that she's only doing it out of love. My two kids, and then it's interesting. I mean, I don't have an official other mentor right now, but I think it's, as you asked me this, it's the Visionary Forum members. You're a mentor to me. Just that how smart you are at business and analyzing, and you take something that I'll say because I'm all over the place, and then you'll be like, okay, well, what about this? And that's amazing. And you introduce me to Joel, and there's Ron, and there's Ruthie, and Angie, and Jamie. And when I reach out to each of you, you're just with love and with your experience and brilliance. It's like, wow. So that's actually a great shift for me, that almost everyone in the forum are mentors to me. And that's where it's, my words are visionaries unleashing visionaries. I know it's iron sharpens iron and visionaries sharpen each other, but that's what it is. We're pushing each other to be great.
And I think, well, I don't know where I first heard it, but I believed it and kind of adopted it, is that the person you will be in 5 years will be a direct reflection of the books that you read and the people you hang out with, right? So that has got me really thinking, is like, start rejecting the people who zap that energy from me and start trying to be around people who energize me,
right?
But also try to put myself around different truth tellers. And it sounds like you surrounded yourself with certain truth tellers. And I know, and it's, I asked permission because this is before I knew you well, but I don't do phony well. I can't give compliments unless I truly believe it. So I try to stay pretty authentic when it comes to that. So when I see something, I say something. So I've even come to you at times and saying, now, Bob, is it okay if I be honest with you? And
Thank you for asking.
Absolutely, but you need to have those people in your life that says, hey, can I shoot straight with you? Or is it okay if I don't sugarcoat it and just tell you what I see? Now, the thing I say about truth tellers, it doesn't have to be everyone's truth. It just has to be my truth, the truth that I see. And we've talked about how it's hard to read the label when you're inside the jar. So you do need to have those people that come in with their truths, with their perceptions, and say, Bob, this is what I see. Now, you can take whatever you want from that. You can agree. You can adopt that truth to be your own. It could be part of your narrative. Or you can say, I appreciate your input, but I don't believe that to be my truth. And do what you want with it, but at least someone had the courage to say, hey, this is real for me.
Right.
And probably be smart to listen to it. So I think that's a big part of the forum for me too, is that, whether I like it or not, I'm around a lot of my truth tellers at this point. And then it's sometimes you're not ready for it. You don't want to hear it because,
well, what a relief that
smack in the face.
I feel often that I'm alone and that I have to solve everything. And that's exhausting. And so, I set up the forum, and I'm really good at starting stuff, and I'm good at finishing. I'm not good in the middle. And so when and you suggested a different format for the forum, and it's brilliant. And so, I mean, it's like, hey, do you mind? It's like, no, bring it on. And if I don't agree, obviously I'm going to give feedback, but all my ideas are not the end all. It's that I'm really good at starting it, and compelling it and galvanizing it, where it's like, okay, cool. And it needs to evolve. And so I appreciate, your courage to share.
So you had mentioned earlier that it's the best time to be alive and to be a visionary. Can you expand on that? I mean, where do you see the trends going? Where do you see, I mean, why now versus 10 years ago? Why is 5 or 10 years from now going to be better than it is today?
There was the agricultural age for thousands of years. And then as we were growing, we hit the ceiling of complexity, which we talk a lot about in the EOS world, that it's grown beyond me. I can't grow unless something happens. And so either we need to bust through that ceiling or we're going to revert back to caveman days. And so then came the industrial age. And so that was also with the entrepreneurs leaving the tyranny of the churches and the kingdoms. And we've created this free country, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. What an amazing opportunity. And then we started to grow, and then we hit the ceiling of complexity. And then with government investing in the aerospace, and we needed to create computers to help to do that. And then through education, we use computers. Then came not only computers, but the internet. We hit the ceiling of complexity and we busted through. We've now hit the ceiling of complexity again, where the bureaucracies aren't working anymore. And that's education, healthcare, government, and the people who are running and benefiting from those don't want to let go. And so that's the issue. And when we hit the ceiling, it is scary, and there's anger and fear. And yet what it is an opportunity to bust through that. And that's where us visionaries, we have ideas. And you got Elon Musk, whether you like him or not, he's trying shit that is like, yeah, that makes sense. And then there's AI, which we can fight. It's already here. But it can help us get access to intelligence or information even quicker. Now, I don't want it to run my life, but why not tap into it? So even with iMatter, I think I mentioned this the other day, we now have a platform for AI iMatter. So now AI can be a mentor to each morning, say, hey, let's do your morning ritual. And then to give us feedback and give us ideas and kind of be our accountability partner. I don't want to be solely dependent on that. But then I go from artificial intelligence to human intelligence. And that to me is this world right now. AI is already here. Right. What are we going to do with it? Are we going to give up the emotions and the beauty of being human? And part of that is adversity. Part of it is love. Part of it is connection. And so that's where I feel AI is a bridge to HI, which is human intelligence, which helps us to get to infinite intelligence. Napoleon Hill, that's what he calls God. God has a lot of dogma to it, the name and the thought of it. But I love that this is the perfect time, because there's enough of us that don't want to deal with the same old bureaucracy. It just doesn't work. And the people who are controlling things, and I'm not saying that out of being a victim or out of fear. I used to, and I wanted to go beat those people, and I'm not going to beat them at their own game, but I'm going to evolve. And it's not me versus them. It's all of us as one. And it's a couple of years ago, I'm like, we're doomed, man. We are going to wipe ourselves off the face of the earth. And then I realized that's giving up my power. And so to tap into my own intelligence, your intelligence, and then ultimately something greater, which I happen to believe that there is something greater. And I'm not going to tell people how to get there or what it is. I think it's different for everyone, but that's that next level. And that's where we're going. And so I'm very excited, Rufus, really for the first time over the last few weeks, even, that you and I and several others are going to be sitting there kind of like the Tribe of Millionaires, the book you gave to me, which was very inspirational a couple of years ago. And that's what the Visionary Forum really is. It's not just an accountability group. We have fun and we push and we pull. And it's going to be our kids thanking us, going, man, you guys had the courage to be yourselves. You had the courage to challenge things that didn't work, even if it might not work, and you might lose at that, and fail at that. So I feel like this is the perfect time. And each of these ages, agricultural age, industrial age, technology age, it's coming fast and furious, and it's already here. So why not go out swinging? I could be wrong, but I actually think we have a shot at pulling this off, where our kids are going to be like, way to go, guys. This was amazing.
And no, I couldn't agree with you more, especially on the AI thing. It's I mean, I've always tried to be on the forefront of any new technology just to have that competitive advantage. But what I like most about technology is when it's a disruptor. Right. That's what I do like about Elon Musk. That's what I like about Uber. That's what I like about any kind of, or Amazon, something that disrupts the status quo, that forces people to have to get out of their comfort zone. And you cannot have growth unless you get uncomfortable. And I think that's where AI is going to be that new thing. And I've even had this conversation with my employees, and the biggest fear everybody seems to have around AI is that, it's going to replace, it's going to take my job. Correction. AI is not going to take your job. Someone who knows how to use AI is going to take your job. Right. So you better learn it quickly. So, because the person that understands it and embraces it and can utilize it to do a better job is the person I'm going to be looking at replacing you with. So
well, and I think
it's just
you
like
summed it
anything
up.
else,
It's
though.
constructive interference.
Mm-hmm.
It's and when we say AI, it's intelligence. It's not wisdom. And what's the only
Mm-hmm.
differential we have moving forward in a lot of ways? Because a lot of things are becoming commodity, and AI and other things can replace us in many ways. But it's being human, and it's connecting with other humans. That's the differential.
I'll start worrying about AI and being replaced when they understand care and empathy and love and just that authentic connection with people, because until that happens, I'm not worried. Now they can try to duplicate it and anticipate it, but to truly have care and
Right.
empathy in a relationship with an AI, you'll pretty much find that to be a very one-sided
Yeah.
relationship.
So
So people will always crave that human interaction and want to learn from other people's experience, because they're that empathy that says, I see you, I hear you, I understand you, and on so many levels, I am you. And we're in this together. I have skin in the game
yeah.
with you. I'm sharing this world with you, and that's who you want to align yourself with, I think. So, anyways,
Well, I think
well,
that
that
sums
was
it up,
really
Rufus.
cool.
That it
Yeah,
is, you and I helping each other, hearing each other. And again, you can only pick so many people to do it with. So if it's people that do want to learn and grow and are purposeful, and I feel warm, and it gives me hope. And then I'm raising to help Jamie, and Jamie's helping her daughter or whatever, and again, I think the constructive interference and us, and that's why I think it is the greatest time, is we visionaries are like, can't we do this more effectively and efficiently and more fun?
all
It's
right.
so yeah, it's a great
And
time.
like, let's face it, it's more fun to do it with I'll say it's more fun to do it with people than to do it yourself.
Right. All right.
On so
Being
many
alone
levels.
is lonely, right?
Exactly. So, Bob, how could people learn more about the summit? How can they learn more about the Visionary Forum? How can they learn more about I Matter, the Mountain? There's so many things you have going on. How do they tap into you? Other than, of course, you can always reach out to me. But how do you want them to
Oh,
find you?
thank you. imatter.com is our website. And again, iMatter is the principles, the practices, the tools, the intellectual property that we're creating. And then the community that we're focused on now is the Visionary Forum. But if you go to imatter.com, you can learn about the Visionary Forum. Within that, we have our community, which is the forum, and we have Zoom meetings a couple times a month, but it's mainly about the community, and it's tapping into resources to grow as a human and grow as a visionary. Then we have the summit, which again is for visionaries. We do that twice a year. That's on imatter.com. We have Go to the Mountain, which is a retreat we do, which now I'm going to do more than twice a year, because it's sad my kids are growing up and leaving the house, but I have more freedom to go do more
Yeah.
mountains. And then we do coaching with other visionaries, and then we're also rolling out. Of course, I've got a few things going on. I Matter at Work, and so that is a new thing that I've been an implementer for EOS for 9 years, and a part of that whole amazing journey that Gino created for 20 years. And now that people are implementing the structure of EOS, now it's like, okay, now let's get into the trust and the community and the culture and the communication and the team, and helping the individuals go to the next level. So I Matter at Work is the coaching that I'm starting to do as well. But imatter.com is the best way to get a hold of us. And we'd love to share and learn and connect with people that feel like there's a fit.
Well, I want to learn more about that I Matter at Work, and we're going to have you back for another podcast, and we're going to dive deeper into that, because I think that's probably one of the smartest investments we can make in our businesses, is in the people and that work within our business. So that's what I really am excited to talk to you about for next time. But thank you so
Awesome.
much, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate you, and it's been completely my pleasure to have you be a guest on Constructive Interference, and hopefully we'll talk again soon.
Awesome. I'm honored and love you, and I'm always here if you need anything and help in any way. So peace.
Thanks for tuning in to Constructive Interference. If you've enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with a fellow visionary. Keep dreaming big, and remember, the only limits are the ones you set for yourself. Until next time, stay sharp.